Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. It's Fart Pancakes here, and I'm back with another Watcher of Realms video, this time not for a guide or a summons video, but this time for a showcase, because as you guys may have seen or heard already, we have the first anniversary event happening right now, and lots of exciting things coming, and the much anticipated Anora and Ymiret unit release is coming. Next week we're getting Anora and her bond unit Ymiret, which is also coming as well. So I wanted to take this opportunity to kind of showcase and mess around with them on the test server. Thank you again, Moonton, for the opportunity, but I thought these units were really interesting because they're kind of like unique kits, and as I was playing around with Anora, I found some really interesting use cases for her because she has like a unique talent. And Ymiret, I mean, he's an ice dragon and he does mixed damage, has a lot of range, really cool, and is gonna be an addition to the unnamed faction, which we don't have a lot of. So it looks like so far we're getting a lot of dragons for that faction, which is really cool. So without further ado, let's dive right in.
Making pancakes.
Alright, so as you can see here, we have Anora. As soon as you go right into the character on the viewing page, it just dives right into the showcase of what the character looks like. Just like, boom, booty right in your face. And, all kinds of stuff. And if you guys haven't seen already, CGI cutscenes, they are a little unhinged. But anyway, we have Anora here, and we have Ymiret here. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing their names correctly, but it is what it is. So the interesting thing about Anora is her talent, because she deploys like a summon, which is a dragon named Labor, and it basically has all the same stats of Anora, which you are putting the gear on, and then the little dragon is going to be doing all the damage and everything. And the interesting thing and unique thing about Anora is that she has Sanctity, which immune to most buffs and debuffs. And this is a little ambiguous because from what I've seen, people are saying like, oh, she doesn't get rage regen, which I thought was weird because this doesn't really specify what affects her and what doesn't. So it seems like it's kind of up in the air, but so far she doesn't get debuffed. So if you throw her into like a Guild Boss 2, she doesn't get any debuffs at all, which is really interesting. And then, she doesn't get most buffs. I don't know which specifically that applies to, but from what I've tested so far, she does still get barriers. So if you put like a Vortex and put a heal on her, she still gets that barrier. And if you put her in the esotericist faction, which she is, and you have the Lord buff, she gets her rage regen ready to go. But as far as things that don't work on her, Dolores doesn't work on her, Laurel doesn't work on her, so if you're trying to do that constant rage regen or attack buff, it doesn't matter. So it can be a good or bad thing. So it's great that she doesn't get debuffs, but you can't cycle with her quickly, but that's not a terrible thing because she's still great as a standalone unit. And then another thing about her talent is that upon death of an allied summon, Labor gains 1 stack of Ancient Spirit, and that means it's going to increase attack by 1%, and it stacks up to 15 times, so it'll go up to 15%. So if you haven't paid attention to the recent patch notes, Navras, he now does summons in his kit. So if you look at a lot of esotericist faction units, they all have some kind of summon. If you read Eloin's skill right here, the Wood Elf, this is a summon. So that counts. And then we have Kaede, I don't know how you pronounce their name, but they have a lot of summons. Summons Windbeak, summons Spiritbeak, Cyrus. He summons the little skeleton soldiers. And then we have I, who summons Ice Seeds, and then of course Navras, who got the buff, and then they summon Spirit Ravens. So Esotericist faction already has kind of the whole synergy with the summons, so it makes sense for Anora to be an Esotericist as well. So if you run her with a whole Esotericist comp and run her with all these different summon units, that's going to be a lot of synergy to basically buff the attack for her dragon labor. For the rest of her skills, you'll see in her basic skills 100% AoE damage up to 5 enemies, so really great for running through Gear Raid 1. And then for her passive, when attacking, Labor has a 20% chance to generate Noxious Breath. When the ultimate is triggered, generates Noxious Breath immediately. So for what that is, it deals magic damage per second up to 8 enemies in range, which is nice. And then we have, on the battlefield, increases the attack of Labor by 15% and grants damage increase to other allied summons. So again, going back to the whole Esotericist team comp, if you just bring in a whole summon comp, everyone is just gonna have so much synergy together and boosting each other's damage. And then we have the bond skill with Ymiret. So if you get Ymiret, you'll get the following effect, which is summons Labor Ice instead of regular Labor. So this is nice because not only are you getting increased damage, you're getting more enemies hit, and you're gonna increase the likelihood of getting debuffs. Because originally, you're not putting out debuffs with Labor, but now with the bond skill, you are. And then we have the ultimate. Your little dragon just does a slam on the ground as you see here in this animation, and then just does more damage for the duration. And once again, really great for running through Gear Raid 1 and Gear Raid 2, which I am about to showcase. And next, we have Ymiret, really cool ice dragon, part of the Unnameable faction, which is really exciting. We're getting more dragons for that faction. If we read his talent, this is really interesting. Basically, you deploy him and he's just gonna put slows on everybody and put up freeze, which is a good debuff because you're gonna need that for Guild Boss 2, for example, as part of the CC. So if you read his basic skill, he's just gonna deal 100% AoE damage up to 5 enemies. So again, really great for Gear Raid 1. And then the passive, when targeting enemies inflicted with freeze, which you'll put when he deploys from his talent, ignores 25% of their defense, which is great because we love defense penetration damage, right? And then when Winter's Bite on enemy triggers freeze, which in this case, you know, it's a debuff that will reduce their movement speed, and then when it reaches 3 stacks, it inflicts freeze on the target for 2 seconds. So this is gonna be the debuff that will be inflicted if Anora has the bond skill. And like I said, if you get the bond skill for Labor, they're gonna put down Winter's Bite. So that's the synergy you'll see between Anora and Ymiret. So having them together will really, you know, pop off your debuffs. So Anora by herself, no debuffs, but with a bond skill, she'll have debuffs, and that's where she'll actually be good going into a Guild Boss 2, because she's not going to get debuffed. So you're not worried about her getting the stacking poison damage, and she doesn't need the buffs. All she needs is heals, and she'll just be sitting there putting down that CC, putting down that damage. So she's a great unit in that aspect. Alright, so for the next passive, basically when he deploys, he's going to gain 6 stacks of scale armor, and what that is it increases his damage and damage reduction. He'll be up to 30% tankier and do up to 30% more damage. And if he receives damage, he'll lose a stack. So it's almost like having a frigid flame, I can't even talk, frigid flame artifact on him. And yeah, you don't want him getting hit and losing those stacks, but if he doesn't get hit, he's just gonna have damage mitigation and damage itself. And then after his ult ends, he'll restore his stacks to full again. So if you're wondering about what his ult does, when it activates, he ascends into the air, as you see in this little animation here, and expands his attack range, reduce block to 0. So you gotta be careful about this one because he can't block enemies anymore, and he'll be kind of squishy because he's not gonna have his armor stacks anymore if he does get hit. So be careful with that one. And then basic attack now turns into Frost Breath, dealing 180 AoE damage to the target and their surrounding enemies, hitting up to 8 enemies and inflicting Winter's Bite. which is the debuff I talked about earlier. And then allies within the talent range receive freeze immunity during the effect duration, so nobody's gonna get freeze, but I'm not sure in what content is everyone gonna get frozen anyway, but maybe more content's gonna come out where that's gonna be a thing. We'll see. So anyway, we have the bond skill here, which is a passive. So if you have Anora, you'll unlock this, and basically there is a 20% chance to inflict an extra stack of Winter's Bite. When Ymiret receives fatal damage for the first time, he transforms into a dragon egg, can't even talk, with all his rage cleared. So what the dragon egg is, it inherits 50% of max HP, reduces block by 1, stops gaining rage during its existence. If killed, deals 200% AoE damage up to 10 adjacent enemies and inflicts freeze for 1 second. If not killed within 20 seconds, the hero revives. So if you guys have ever played like League of Legends and you have Anivia, it's basically a similar thing. If you die, you become an egg. If you are protected and you don't get killed, you're gonna revive. But in this case, it's more interesting because if the egg does get hit and die, then you'll just do an explosion of AoE damage and then everybody gets frozen, which is nice CC and damage, of course. So that is Ymiret's kit. So the content I think he's the best in is going to be, like I said, Guild Boss 2 and Gear Raid 1. If there's other content in the future that he would be great in, definitely looking forward to that. But without further ado, let's get right into the showcases. Alright, so we're just gonna go ahead and put Anora down here, and she'll do enough damage to just start nuking at these dudes. And then once again, we wait for these guys to walk up, do the same thing, recall. And then we're just gonna ×2 through this because it's a lot of nothing. And then once this guy starts rolling in the Running Man, that's when we ×1. And I'm gonna like not do such a great job at talking and walking you through the process because I'm terrible at multitasking. And this is very, very timing dependent. So I'll try the best I can to like explain what's going on as I do it. Basically you want the 2 running dudes to hit your unyielding guy, and then you can recall them and then place down a tank on top of them, and that'll finish them off. You want to place your tanky platform unit first because he's the one that's getting targeted. And then as soon as these guys hit the middle here, I can activate Anora and just start nuking away at them. At this point a tank's not really necessary, so just recall. And then once those 4 guys are gone, you can recall your healer. If you don't kill these dudes in time, it's fine. You can just place down another guy kind of to stall him in that winding animation. And then as soon as you can, recall your Anora, because the faster you can get her up in the next phase, the better. Oh, it's late at night and I'm getting sleepy trying to record this, but I will get through this the best I can. Okay, so again, same thing applies. Wait for these running dudes to hit and knock off some of their HP. And then you can recall, and then once they walk up a little, finish them off with your next tank. Do the same for this side. Wait for them to walk up a little bit, place down your tank. And then as soon as our healer's back up, we're gonna face him only healing Isolde because he's not gonna be able to tank if he's healing Olog too. Plus, he's the best tank for this unless you have Brokir because he's very self-sustaining with that fat shield. And then as soon as our ultis are up, we're gonna go ahead and activate them and start nuking away at these dudes. And then as soon as you can, remove your tanks because they don't need to be there anymore. And then we can remove Vortex. If you don't feel like you can kill this dude in time, you can hold him in place until he's gone, and then recall everyone as soon as you can. So timing is very, very, very crucial. This part might be a little tight as well. So place them down. Again, this phase is just another rinse and repeat. We need to hope that this guy knocks off some of his HP on Decimus. That's okay. Wait for them to walk up a little, place down our warm body, and then same thing applies here. Place down our warm body, finish them off. And then this part we're waiting for Decimus to come up. So he's gonna walk up here, and then once he gets up here, we'll place him down and he's gonna start smacking and getting angry. So we want him to get angry. He's not getting angry. There we go. Now we wait for him, we place down Olag, and then we place down our Vortex, we place down Anora, and then we wait for her ulti. Pop that. And then I think Gabe's bugged. No, it's just me. Then we times 2 through it, and then we just finish that off, and then easy peasy. So as long as you can get the timings down, timing is very, very crucial. And then the only good gear you need is basically on Anora, because you need to be able to nuke them on time. Everybody else just, they need to be able to tank enough. So just to show you guys and make sure I'm not bamboozling, POD was off. If this little thing will get out of the way. Okay, POD is off. And this is the team comp, so I'm gonna run through their gear. So Isolde, you need her tanky, of course. I know it's not ethical to be putting in all these ancients, but I'm lazy rolling gear on test server, so you know, just make her as tanky as you can. And then Vortex, since she's HP scaling, healer, you know, you just put these down. The Invig doesn't matter here because it's not buffing Anora anyway because of her talent. And then again, Olag just needs to be tanky, so that's the gear, just everything HP because defense is doo-doo in this game. Then we have Baron, he is ungeared. You just need him with his skill ups because you need him for the whole 8 seconds of unyielding. Volca, she's just a warm body, so like the gear doesn't matter. This was here, I was testing for other stuff, but she doesn't need anything. Same thing with Raiden, you just pull him and then he doesn't have anything. Anora, this is where it matters because this is her gear. So there's a lot of different builds. I personally think going Infernal Roar is the best for this because you're constantly picking her up and putting her down. So Ageless Wrath is not good because that will take some time to build up stacks, and then Soulbound Arcana, again, that builds up stacks as well. So if you're just picking up and putting down, I think it's really good to just put down Infernal Roar, but you know, to each their own. Anyway, this is what the gear looks like. I know that's kind of bonkers, but you know, the rest of this is like pretty doable even without ancients. And then the artifact is a maxed out tier of Twilight, and of course full skill up as well. And then Decimus, he doesn't have anything either. You're just using him for his unyielding, which is for 8 seconds, so make sure that's skilled up. And then our 2 warm bodies, they're just whatever units thrown in here. You know, they have no upgrades or anything on them. So this can be anybody as long as they're ground units. So yep, that's it. That's all you need for Gear Raid 2. If you haven't done up to stage 21, try to farm the best Infernal Roar gear you can get and max out a tier of Twilight, and Anora can do the job. Alright, so this is going to be a showcase where I show you how good Anora is in Gear Raid 1 without having to use... Oh, that was an accident. It's fine though. There's enough damage output here. I was trying to wait for timing their ults together, but it's fine. This early wave doesn't matter too much. But since she doesn't get buffs as far as like damage and rage regen goes, this is kind of a good showcase to show you how good her damage is if you just synergize her with a summon comp. So I chose to put some epics out here as the summon units because we're trying to showcase Anora, and of course if we use like some legendary units like Kaede or Cyrus, you know, you're gonna get a lot of damage output from them instead. So this is basically a showcase showing you that without rage regen or damage buffers, we're getting basically a damage increase from the summons dying, and that's how Anora works. So I'm just kind of throwing out their ultis as they come up. We're just gonna brute force our way through, and then wait for these guys to kind of gather up here. We're gonna watch their HP, make sure everyone's kind of safe and topped up, get the Mari CC off, and then time all their ults together just to kind of brute force our way through this again. And then I'm just gonna rinse and repeat that for a little bit until I can get rid of most of the mobs here. And then when I feel like the coast is clear and I don't need the healers, then I'll go ahead and, well actually I guess at this point we can put down Isolde, which I can't because we got a lot of ice bombs in the way. So this is gonna be a little tricky. Okay, this is good. We have a little placement in the corner there, so I just wanted to relieve some pressure off the wall. Most of the damage is gonna be coming from Anora anyway, so it's not that big of a deal if Navras is dead. This was a little close here. Really close. That shouldn't be happening, but I yapped too much, so things kind of went wrong. This is a really risky take for me here because if I am in ult mode for Ymiret, I am 0 block, as I mentioned in his character introduction, his skill set. So luckily Isolde was kind of tanking their attention. So I find here as long as we keep her alive, and then just wait for the close to come up. Let the CC go in, get Anora going, until the critters come over there. Go ahead and move this here, just get extra damage on this side, we don't need to heal anymore. And then once everyone has their ults up, I'm gonna time everything together. So yeah, this is a little slow, obviously, if I didn't yap so much, and I was paying better attention, and I was better multitasking, this would go a lot faster. It shouldn't be this slow, but because I'm sitting here trying to walk you through what I'm doing, and then trying to make sure I'm doing things at the same time, my brain doesn't know how to function, doing a bunch of things at once, but this basically shows you, okay, you can gear gap, you can brute force your way through. You don't need rage regen, you don't need anti-heals, you brute force them to death with the freeze comp and the magic pen from Mari. And then just to see a comparison, all the damage that was coming out here was from Anora, Ymiret, following up next. The rest of these units here, they're just there to support, and we're barely getting any damage in from I and Navras anyway, just because, well, Navras died. He wasn't supposed to, but he did. And then she's mainly there for CC, but I did have her on a damage build as well. But just for comparison's sake, you do see how I didn't do a lot of damage output. And Dolores was basically giving damage only to Ymiret and Navras. So this puts into perspective how strong Anora is if you run her with her synergy comp, which I mentioned already. Pair her with a bunch of summons. And then for the gear, I'll show you what that looks like. So for Gear Raid 1, as far as gear goes, you can see I have nothing on Raiden. I didn't even use him in that fight anyway. But for Ymiret, I have them and Anora on Ageless Wrath. In my opinion, you can use Soulbound Arcana or Ageless Wrath. Not so much Infernal Roar, because for Gear 1, for long dragged out fights, you get a lot of stacks built up for Ageless Wrath. And then you could do the same for Soulbound Arcana, but I personally like Ageless Wrath better, especially if you can get some rage regen in the stats. It definitely helps out a lot too. So this is their gear. Pretty similar, other than Anora having more attack speed and Ymiret having more crit damage. They both have quality gear, but you still saw that Anora did most of the damage there. And then, oh, their artifacts, I should go over that too. So Ymiret is on a max out Eye of Sin for the AoE damage, and then Anora is on a max Tear of Twilight. Their skills are fully maxed out as well. And then Navras, he's just on a Ageless Wrath damage build as well, also on a max Tear of Twilight. And then I, same thing, maxed out damage, gear, maxed out Tear of Twilight. And then Isolde, she's just on the regular tank build as you saw for Gear 2. Same thing with Vortex, he's given a little bit of the Invig to Dolores or Navras, whoever got it there, only one of them got it. And then Mari, again, Invig. And then, oh yeah, I keep forgetting the artifacts. Bastion Ring for Isolde. And then a Vortex on Euphoric Orb. Mari is on Tome of Horror. Just, you know, because of the slows. I think that one's good, but you know, there's Samsara, bunch of other things you can do. And then Dolores on Invig with Golden Scarab. And then we have Lily, who's not getting the Lord buff, but she still did a great job. Regular Invig set with the little healing set and Euphoric Orb. And that's gonna be the whole team. So there you have it. Gear 1 with a summons comp and a freeze comp, and basically just showing how good Anora is without using any buffers. Alright, so that's gonna be it. As you just saw here with Gear 1 and Gear 2, Anora is a freaking boss. She is a boss lady. She does not need any buffers. She is a one-woman show. All she needs is some tank to tank for her and some healers to heal her, and she's good to go. She has amazing damage nukes. She doesn't need anything to make her damage pop off other than other summons. So if you synergize her with a summon comp, she works great in Gear 1. If you have her on good Infernal Roar gear, or you know, just any good gear in general, she's really great to nuke through Gear 2. And if you have her with Ymiret, of course her Dragon Labor is gonna pop off even more, but not necessary. And yeah, I think she's a great unit. Hopefully you guys are looking forward to summoning her when she comes out on the limited banner next week on the 27th. So look forward to that. I know I am. Get your summons ready because she's going to be amazing. And then when Ymiret comes out, I'm looking forward to that too. I don't know if I can get them because my ancient summons are unlucky. But hopefully your luck will be better than mine. Anyway, happy anniversary again to Watcher of Realms. Thank you again, Moonton, for this opportunity, and keep up the good work with the game. Looking forward to many more years with you guys and the rest of the community. Alright, that'll be it for today. If you guys like this content, make sure you don't forget to like and subscribe. I guess it's the other way around. Like and subscribe. Okay, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!